crafty friends, welcome to today's Die Cut December 2024 video. Today I'm going to make a happy retirement card for you using these dies, and I'm going to be following this sketch. Feel free to take a screenshot now if you'd like to keep a copy for yourself. The first thing I'm going to do today is create the focal point of my card, and I've got this little house plant die. And I'm going to cut it from Spectrum Noir marker paper because to colour it I'm going to use my alcohol markers, and for colouring I'm going to use light green blend, tan blend and dull green blend. I don't do an awful lot of alcohol marker colouring, but I do enjoy it, and these tri-blend markers make it really easy. And that's because in each pen there is a light, a mid and a dark of the colour. And so what you do with these is you colour everything with the light, and then you take the dark and you add in areas of shadow. So I'm going to make the stem darker, I'm going to make the bottom edge of the leaves darker, and any area where a leaf is overlapping and casting shade, I'll make that darker. You don't have to be particularly tidy or accurate with these. And then you go in with the mid and you just kind of add a bit, overlapping that dark, blending it out a bit. You can just see how haphazard I am with my colouring. I'm trying to create an impression of something, not an accurate representation. And then you go in with your light again and you can blend out the medium. You can go over the whole thing again. And quite often I'll go and repeat the process with the dark and the medium, because the more you kind of saturate the marker paper with the alcohol inks, the more the inks blend out nicely, I find. And then I'll go in with the light again and just blend out any harsh lines. And now I'm going to take the dull green and I'm just going to use the darkest end of this one just to add a little bit of extra dark. And I don't necessarily need this to be blended out. Now for the pot. I'm going to go over the whole pot with the lightest colour. Then I'm going to flick in from the side that's going to be in shadow. Like that, and along the bottom because that'll be a bit darker. Then I'll flick in with the medium and blend out that dark edge a bit, and then add some light. Now that's good and saturated, I'll add some more dark over here, and then flick out a bit of the medium. And then the light again. And I'll carefully, because it's quite wet, poke that out and the little bits here. And when you pop it on a bit of white card like that, you can get a better idea of if any more colour needs to be added. I think I will get the dull green, the dark, and just go around the very edges, the underside. The trick, I think, of knowing where to add shadow and where to add light is to look at real life things or photographs of real life things and see where the shadow and the light is on those, and then you'll know where to colour on your die cuts or stamped images. I do want to add some nice detail to my pot here, so I'm going to add some gold circles with some gel pen and some white detail as well with a bit of gel pen. You can also add some highlights on the leaves. If you wanted to make them look glossy, you could put glossy accents or crystal glaze over them, or heat emboss over it in clear gloss embossing powder. There you go. It's not exactly a masterpiece, but it does the trick. As per the sketch, I've got a label die here and I've cut a white label, and I've got a stitched circle die and I've cut a vellum stitched circle. I want to jazz both of those up before I add them to my card. Right, on my vellum circle, I'm going to do some heat embossing. So I dust this with talcum powder, and I've got a text stamp here. This is just an unreadable, scribbly text stamp. Not sure where it came from, probably a charity shop find. And I've inked it up with Versamark watermark ink, and I'll stamp that on like that. I'm going to emboss it in gold, but I'm not using my usual Cosmic Shimmer Gold because I got this Wow Metallic Gold Rich Pale Regular embossing powder for my birthday, and I thought I would try this, see what it looks like. I'm going to heat it with my heat tool now. This is vellum, so it's a plasticized paper type thing. This vellum is designed to go through laser printers, so it can take heat because they get very hot. But if you've got a vellum that is not designed for heat or heating, then just be very careful when you heat it up. Make sure your heat tool is good and hot and you waft it over rather than holding it in one place, and you should be able to melt your embossing powder. So that is looking gorgeous, really beautiful. I love that colour. Now I am going to dry emboss on the label, but I'm also going to add some colour. I've put a bit of doubled up washi tape on the back of my die cut so that I can stick this where I want it exactly, and it's going to stay there when I run it through my die cutting machine. And that way I can get the pattern I want where I want it. I'm going to brayer on some Sparkling Berry dye ink from Catherine Pooler because I want to create a pink and white checkered pattern, almost like an old-fashioned tiled floor, but instead of black and white, pink and white, because I think the pink will go nicely with these colours. So I can fold that, keep it shut. So there we go, that has embossed nicely. I've got the dimension from the embossing folder plus the pink and white pattern that I was after. In the sketch, I've got 3 vertical lines. Now I could add those with a scoreboard, but I'm wondering how it would look if I added them by embossing with this die rather than die cutting with it. Just emboss into the background. I think I've got that lined up straight on there. I'm going to hold it in place with some post-it tape. For my embossing sandwich, I'm going to place it like that on the rubber mat. So that has embossed. I can take this off carefully, hasn't left a mark. Take these off, and now I've got 3 faux stitch lines. I rather like that. For my sentiment, I've got a happy retirement stamp. And I think I'll stamp it in the Sparkling Berry ink and see how that looks. I'm going to line up this aperture over that sentiment without moving the bottom bit of paper, and then I'm going to put this in here and stamp again, and hopefully that will stamp perfectly on my die cut piece. And I'm going to stamp one last time in embossing ink and dip that into some clear embossing powder. So that's now got a nice glossy finish to it. So I've added high tack glue to the back of this die cut because I want it to stay put while it dries. Matte gel medium I find tends to not be very tacky, so things shift around a bit, or they can shift around a bit. I'm going to use my Xyron sticker maker to add some adhesive to the back of my vellum. This will make the whole of the back of the circle sticky. I want to get the text straight, and again I'm going to put some high-tack glue on the back of this because of its tacky properties. So everything's slightly offset. I haven't centered it like the sketch because I think sometimes centering looks nice, but I think these particular elements look best slightly offset from one another. It's more interesting. To attach my sentiment piece, I've just put a little bit of thin foam tape. It's 1mm deep. Just provides a little bit of lift. I don't want to cover up too much of my plant. I'm just wondering about popping that leaf over the top of the sentiment piece. I think that works. I'm going to use the high-tack glue again. I think that kind of brings everything together a bit. I'm thinking of adding a few homemade enamel dots using card that I've embossed with that gold, so I'm going to give that a go. So I'll smear some embossing ink on this bit of card here. It's coming out slightly pink because I've got pink ink on it. So that looks good. I'm going to use this wobbly circle die to cut out some wobbly circles, hopefully. So there we go, a nice lovely collection of solid gold foiled wobbly dots. And I will use matte gel medium to stick these down, because if it squirts out from underneath, it'll dry matte and not show up. Right, I think that card is done. I am very happy with that. But what I'm going to do now is take my practice pieces that I did earlier and add them to one of my technique tags. Well, in fact, I'm going to add this to one, and I'll write on the back how I made it. And then I've got room for a couple of other techniques on there. And I'll add this practice piece to another one, and that can act as a reminder that I can use my alcohol pens to dress up my die cuts. If you're wondering about this technique tag library, then check out my video 20 plus ways to dress up your die cuts, because that's where we started putting this together. Right, that's this card done and dusted. I hope you've enjoyed today's video and it's given you some ideas of things you can do in your own card making. If it has, do let me know in the comments. Like, subscribe, ring that notification bell, and I'll see you back here tomorrow for another day of Die Cut December 2024. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.